Welcome, everybody, to the PodAskew Podcast. I am CJ, and with me, as always, is my hetero life mate, Rico. What's up, man?
What's up, dude?
Another week, another life in paradise.
Paradise? I didn't know Jersey was paradise.
Yes, it's not.
A week in purgatory?
Yeah, something like that. Although it is starting to finally get fucking warm, so I'm happy about that. So
You're taking all of our good weather. It's really gray and rainy over here.
Well, that's doing that here too, so we're sharing. What's been up, man? How you doing?
I've been good. A little tired. I'm a little hungover. But I think I deserved it. I'm actually in some pain too. That's another thing. Is I'm all creaky and my back hurts. And when I fucked up my back on that chair, I healed, but I didn't ever get an alignment. So I took Steph to a chiropractor twice last week for her to get adjusted because she needs it.
Yeah.
And then I told the chiropractor, I'm like, okay, I'm jealous. I need to come back. I need to come in and get my own adjustment. So I made an appointment tomorrow. I'm going to go, and the receptionist says, so what specifically does the chiropractor need to focus on? I'm like, everything. Like fucking everything. Yeah. Like I'm coming in, I want everything cracked. If it's crackable, I want it cracked.
Well, hopefully that works out for you.
Yeah, but the weird thing is that was before all of a sudden my ankle hurts. Like now my left ankle hurts.
Oh, geez.
And I didn't do anything. I didn't twist it, but it feels like how it would feel if you twisted your ankle. But I never twisted my ankle.
Okay, that's a little creepy. I'm not gonna lie. For the simple fact that for the last 4 or 5 days, my left ankle has felt that way as well, and that's my bad ankle. So maybe there's sympathy pains. I don't know. Even though you didn't know that I was having pain.
Just we're such good friends that
the hetero life mate thing. So
yeah, the hetero life pain.
Yeah. So by the way, speaking of your back and the chair and all that, we've gained many new fans over the last several months, which I'm very grateful for, and thank you to all of you. But we've gotten our first confirmed international fan, which I think is exciting.
There was that other fan of mine from Rico's Rants. I don't know if he's listened to our shit.
Right.
I don't know, but he is. He's never given me a confirmation. I'll just have to ask him. But we are known in Australia.
Known and spreading, from what I'm being told, because I'm keeping in contact with her. Pretty
virus.
Yeah, we are viral, but not in a good way. So, no, but I want to give a shout out to @J6K9 on Twitter. She is a woman from Australia and has fucking binged our shows, and I'm sorry to her for that, but that's... and I haven't shared this with you, or I don't know if you saw it because it's on the show account, but she actually did watch the 37 in a row Clerks commentary episode with Clerks. Her and some friends got together and watched it and listened together.
Dude, we were the source of a party. Isn't that weird?
Very weird, but I'm very grateful as well. I don't want to sound ungrateful to her. It's awesome that they did that, and she said it lined up perfectly. So I'm very excited about that, yeah. I mean, we didn't lie, and we did watch, and we went through the whole thing, but I was afraid maybe something got lost in the editing, translation thing, and it didn't. So I'm very happy about that.
What was more surreal was when I spoke to her personally on my own Twitter, and was just DMing her and just saying, hey, thanks for your support, thanks for being a fan. And then she was like, how's your back? And I'm like, holy fuck.
No, that was on the show account. I have it right in front of me.
Well, that too, but we also were speaking about other things. She was, we did do that on that, but I'm saying it's weird for me to talk about something on a podcast and then it's on someone say, oh, is your back feeling better?
Yeah. It's very cool of her, and she's been very supportive so far, and I'm happy, and thank you for listening, and keep spreading the word down under. So
I bragged about it to my brother.
Yeah.
My brother Alex. It was Ron, my dad's birthday the other day.
Oh, happy birthday, Ron.
Yeah, he's 81.
And still fucking feisty as a motherfucker.
Seriously. So the plan was originally we were all going to go up to our property. My brothers and I were going to go up to the land.
Yeah.
I was waiting up there, and my brother Alex wasn't feeling very well, and his wife is pregnant and about to give birth. So a lot of this was maybe we shouldn't have you go up in the middle of fucking nowhere just in case you gotta go. And plus it was starting to storm at the land, so it all kind of worked out where my other brother Joel and I went and saw Captain Marvel together, and then we hung out at my dad's, and Alex wasn't going to show up, and then Alex finally did show up because he was feeling a little bit better, and I told him about the podcast. He was asking about it, showed him the logo and everything, and he was like, dude, I got to actually start listening to this. And when I told him, I said, dude, we got this awesome logo. I'm now expecting you, if I get a fucking shirt of this made for you to wear it. That's what I want. And he said, well, how many people are listening to it? I'm like, dude, I got listeners in Australia. He's like, are you shitting me? I was like, no, dude, I'm a worldwide phenomenon.
Well, phenomenon's a little strong, but okay.
No, if I just said I'm worldwide, he would be like, of course you are. You're fat. I didn't want to fucking give him that ammunition.
Gotcha.
So,
gotcha.
But I played him a little bit of stuff, and then we had a good birthday for my dad. And then it was my nephew's birthday. My nephew, Vinny, is actually his birthday is the day before my dad's.
Okay.
So sort of semi-oldest and semi-youngest sort of right next to each other.
Nice.
So I went to my nephew's birthday yesterday.
Talk about strange listeners and stuff like that. So I got a new boss at work who is closer to our age than my previous boss, which is not meant any other way except as a delineation between the two. And I mentioned that I am not only a Kevin Smith fan, but that I am a podcaster, and she immediately made me put the show title into her phone, and she is now listening to PodAskew. So, my boss listens to PodAskew.
Which means if you say the wrong thing, your ass is grass.
Yeah, no. All kidding aside, I don't talk about my job on here. You know that, and I do that by design. So the chances of me getting fired or in trouble are next to nothing. So, and I will share.
It's that one time you went into detail about how you did something. No, I'm just.
No, fuck you! Don't do that. But Rico, I think we've made our guest wait long enough. He's been sitting there for 8.5 minutes in utter silence, and that's just not fair.
Oh, fuck him.
Oh, come on. That's fucked up.
That's fine. I went and made food.
You went and made food. There you go. That voice, everybody, is our friend Mark, who was on the Oscars episode with us. And much like the other people who have been on the Oscars episode, we wanted to give him the chance to come on and not have to watch the Oscars and talk to us. So,
have some retribution.
Yeah. Basically, penance for making him sit through that. How you doing, Mark?
I'm okay. How are you guys?
Good, man. Good. Thanks for coming back on. We appreciate it.
Thanks for having me.
No problem, man. No problem. Before we get into what we were going to get into tonight, I was wondering if you wanted to kind of, because we didn't give you the opportunity on the Oscars one, if you wanted to plug some of the stuff you got going. Because your Twitch stream is really gaining popularity pretty quickly.
Yeah, it's been very strange just because, I've been streaming regularly off and on for close to a decade now, and it's just kind of been consistently my friends. And then in the past couple of months, the past month and a half, we've actually gotten a small group together of people who aren't people that I know. And it's been oh, okay, that's kind of nice. But yeah, I stream every Friday and every Saturday at twitch.tv/MarkBWriting. On Fridays, we do Let's Play Friday, where I play a game from start to finish over however many sessions is required. We're presently playing a game called Super Robot Wars V, which is basically based off of various Gundam and other giant robot animes. The other thing that we do on Saturdays is we will either just do a random game, or at this point, usually about once a month, once every 4 weeks, we will do a live board game stream.
And if you want to see me come and fuck that up, that's the one you should watch, because that's the one I tend to screw up.
I mean, you're fine.
Except when I give away the virus person.
I mean, like that was also a different kind of fine. That was a different kind of fine. That was entertaining.
Oh, totally. And then, whether you continue to stream or just have us over to hang out, that's probably going to live in infamy from now on. So,
oh yeah, that is definitely a board game night meme.
It's never going away.
No.
But that's all right. It's fine. So yeah, thanks for coming on, man. We appreciate it. Let's get into it. So, right before we started, we watched and this is before you were able to jump on with us, Mark, but we watched a thing on YouTube called the Top 10, was it Top 10 Fan Theories That Are Mind-Blowing or something to that effect, Rico, I think is what it was called?
Something akin to that. It was like Top 10 Film Theories or whatever.
Yeah, fan theories that could actually be real or something like that. And then if you're interested in seeing it, it's on Watch Mojo. So go to Watch Mojo on YouTube and check it out. Either pause us, watch it, and then come back or whatever. But there were a couple on there that were really kind of intriguing, and then some that were just kind of silly but fun to think about. The immediate one of those that jumps out at me was that Kevin McAllister from Home Alone grew up to become Jigsaw, which I thought was kind of funny.
It was funny, but that definitely is not. Like, you could easily debunk that by, like, well, no, because they're in the same kind of time frame.
Oh, they both in the early 90s?
Well, there are parts, because the Saw movies kind of jump around in timelines, like, and everything. Not like alternate timelines, but, like, what you think is a sequel is really a prequel. It just doesn't specify what year it is, and then you're like, oh, this was before he died. Blah, blah, blah. So
even if you just like consider it from a time window perspective, Saw is the first film happens in 2004, so it's fairly reasonable to assume that the franchise starts, like the universe as we understand it begins in the area of 2004, like the John Kramer is doing his stuff in 2004. And John Kramer is like what, 50, 60, somewhere in that area.
Yeah.
Kevin McAllister is 8 in the 1980s.
Right.
Yeah, so at best he'd be in his 20s by that point.
Yeah.
So.
Macaulay Culkin is looking rough. He is not fucking looking Tobin Bell rough. Okay. He is not.
Oh, there's the whole part about how Tobin Bell's character John Kramer had cancer, but like I don't think cancer ages a motherfucker like that.
Yeah, like cancer is terrible. Cancer does not make you look like Angus Scrum from the fucking Phantasm series. It doesn't make you look old. It just makes you look like thin. Also, further to the point, in that first movie, Tobin Bell like is still like relatively ripped up. Like he can still like probably fight a motherfucker if he wanted to. And I mean, like cancer will eventually make you like skinny and you know like you'll lose weight and you'll just be falling apart and whatnot.
Yeah.
But at that point, no, he was, even with cancer, he was entirely capable of like being a physical specimen.
Yeah,
Kevin McAllister is not fucking John Kramer. It's just unless he like fell into the French dip.
I would love to see a Home Alone like other movie where it shows him as an adult and he does a Jigsaw fucking type of like things, but like no, that theory, while it's funny, not even close to being true or even like plausible.
The other small one that I don't want to devote too much time to, but honestly I can't speak very intelligently to, so you guys may have to help me out here, was that the Mad Max Road Warrior, Mad Max Fury Road thing where the feral kid from Road Warrior is the main protagonist in Fury Road. But,
that's plausible.
Okay, and see, my exposure to that is the clip we watched during the countdown, so I don't know much about it, you know.
I think it's definitely plausible. Because at the same time, you're kind of looking at it like, Tom Hardy and Mel Gibson, not all alike.
Right.
Except maybe, yeah, even then.
Yeah, like in a broad sense, the titular character of Mad Max is always supposed to be Max Rockatansky.
Yeah.
There's nothing saying that it has to be Max. So it's very possible that enough time elapses during the period from Mad Max Beyond. Was it Beyond Thunderdome? Was the one where he met that kid, or Mad Max 2? Road Warrior.
They said 2 in the clip, but I don't know if that's incorrect. I'm
okay,
not
so
sure.
That's Road Warrior then.
Yeah.
Okay, so it's very possible within the universe in which Mad Max exists that enough time has elapsed from Road Warrior to Fury Road where that kid has grown up and taken on the Mad Max name and is just Mad Max now. There's a certain amount of implication in the film that he is the same Max Rockatansky because there's like post-traumatic stress disorder type stuff that Max Rockatansky sees that would be unique to Max, that the kid wouldn't necessarily have going on, so that the implication is meant to be that it's always Max Rockatansky.
Unless you emulated Max so much that he did kind of like have his own PTSD similar.
Yeah, it's possible. It's just I would say it's probably not likely, and I definitely think from a narrative perspective that this is absolutely not what the author intends, but you could go with it and it'd be like, okay.
Well, it's the same director. Maybe he's open to it.
I mean, that would be a thing where you'd have to actually ask him directly, I would think.
Well, and that kind of leads to the next one, I think. That's a good transition, and this one goes into a world that, Mark, you may not be as familiar with, but there's a theory that Harry Potter... are you familiar with those movies at all, Mark, or no? If you're not, I get that, but...
I've seen most of the movies and read the books, yes.
Okay, so I didn't realize you were that deep into it. Awesome. So the theory is that, you know how Harry's trapped under the stairs, especially in the first one, they keep him like locked in that closet thing, is that all of the adventures off at Hogwarts weren't real, but in his mind and his way of like escapism while trapped under the stairs.
I mean, sure. That's as feasible as anything else.
And that the injuries that he suffers in those worlds, in those stories, are actually the result of the abuse he was taking from his aunt and uncle, I think it was, right?
The Dursleys, yeah.
Yeah. Rico, I remember you were kind of like, eh.
Well, I was meh at first, and then once I thought about it, I'm like, okay, I actually could get behind that. The whole, like the scar is from a car accident that killed his parents. And then he just made his own fantasy thing, and, what I said to you off camera was that it actually saddens me that is a more believable theory than whatever the fuck J.K. Rowling is doing with her own franchise. Because I saw Crimes of Grindelwald and it fucking sucked, and she's rewriting her own bullshit. That's what really upsets me. Is that like what you know? Like you're like, okay, this, that, and this. 1, 1, 1 equals fucking 3. And then she's like, no, actually equals 4. You're like, no, it doesn't. She's like, no, it does because I said it, because it's my own writing and I'm the creator. And you're like, no, it's the, and I don't even want to really fucking ruin it, but it'd be like the equivalent of being like, all this time, you know, Darth Vader is Luke and Leia's dad. You know that. Then it's like, no, actually, it was Obi-Wan Kenobi and Anakin Skywalker were gay lovers, and they adopted some fucking kids. And you're like, wait, what? No, what the no?
Are you
like,
working for Rian Johnson? Like, because seriously, that's what it kind of sounds like.
I'm telling you, dude, fucking J.K. Rowling's become the new Rian Johnson.
Yeah, but she's allowed to at least fuck up her own material. Ryan fucked up somebody else's material.
Not. At this point, it's not her shit. It's now ours. It's now the fans.
Anyway.
Death of the author.
Death of the author. Well, it's interesting you brought up Star Wars, Rico, because the next one that I was thinking about, and this one actually intrigued me to the point that I kind of wonder if there's some validity to it. And Mark, your head might explode on this one. The theory was that Jar Jar Binks is actually the most powerful Sith Lord that's ever existed. And all of his antics and the way he acts are actually all part of a master plan.
Yeah, that theory has been going on for years now. It's never going to be canon. You're not going to make fetch a thing, Gretchen. It's cute and haha and whatever, but no, fuck off with that shit.
Who the fuck is Gretchen?
Yeah, that's what I was wondering.
Have neither of you seen Mean Girls? Jesus Christ.
I mean,
No.
I did.
How do you run a movie podcast and you've not seen Mean Girls? Like, I don't expect both of you to own, like, you know, high quality copies, like, you know, like multiple signed Blu-ray copies of The Godfather. But fuck, man, damn.
We'd actually have that more likely than Mean Girls, to be honest with you.
I've seen Mean Girls. I'm more astounded that you're defending Mean Girls as much as you are.
Mean Girls is a good movie. Nothing wrong with it.
All right.
It's like one of the few movies that Lindsay Lohan was good in.
Yeah, that's not saying much, though.
I think you stunned Rico into silence, which is a rare fucking thing to do.
Only you, Mark. Only you could fucking do that.
That's what I have been told many a time.
Yes, well, you have. I've been there for that a few times.
Stop it. You're fucking with my own goddamn, like, mojo here.
You don't pay my sub.
All right, and then Mark, this one is the one I was really. This last one, there's more, but this is the last one I kind of really want to touch on because the rest of them are either ridiculous or we've already covered them just by coincidence. This one goes back to the Matrix, and that Neo wasn't actually the one; it was Agent Smith that was the one.
Okay, but you're assuming that Agent Smith was a person.
Yeah, but you're assuming Neo's a person.
I mean, unless the physical representations of Neo in that situation are just meant to be, you know, more digital code happening, like more stuff that he's being told from a coding perspective, like, It's a matter of, that's a neat idea, but how far do you take that? You know what I'm saying?
And I can't really have an opinion because I haven't seen the Matrix trilogy in more than it's been like a good, I want to say almost like a decade at this point.
Well, the theory in the thing we watched was that, you know, the one is born inside the Matrix and Agent Smith is born within the Matrix. No, you could use how you want to define the word born might, you know, skew what the outcome is, but like they reference the fact that the Oracle never says that Neo is the one. She never actually states that at any point. And then at one point, you know, she calls Agent Smith a bastard and he turns to her and goes, "You would know, Mom." You know, so there's your born in the Matrix theory.
I mean, I don't really have an opinion on that one just because, I mean, it's possible. It's just a matter of, like, I feel like that particular fan theory, where can I put this?
However you want.
Somebody thought way too fucking hard about that one.
Well, I mean,
like thinking is good, but there's a point where it's just like, listen, I put down the bong, count backwards from 1,000, and just like have a cheeseburger and relax, Cheech. Because like this is you're putting way more effort into this than the Wachowskis did.
Well, and it can be fair to say that same thing can be said about all these theories. You know what I mean? Like, but I get what you're saying.
Isn't that
whatever happened to the days of fan theories where it was just like all the James Bonds are different?
Well, that's still a good theory.
That is still a good
but
theory.
it's just like we're at a point now where it's like people are trying to play like 4-dimensional chess with fan theories, and I'm just like, I got a job, man.
Well,
that's right of not having to give a shit. That helps.
Mm.
I got a theory. What if Mark gave a fuck?
Well, Mark is a fuck
about some things. I give a fuck about some things. Just, you know.
But I do. And the one reason we brought you on, Mark, was because you know your video games better than anybody I know by a long shot, and it's exampled by your, you know, when you were talking about what you're watching on Twitch or what you're streaming on Twitch with the Super Robot Wars V, and what was that? I forget, but the RPG you did 2 weeks ago. Yeah, it was an RPG.
RPG. Langrisser?
No. Maybe it's not an RPG, but it's that one you just got in that had the Nero but
Fate Extella.
Yeah, it's not an RPG. That honestly, that one looks like a lot of fun too. I might have to pick that one up at some point. But it's a hack and slash. I know you said in your stream it's Dynasty Warriors, but I don't know if Rico would be familiar with Dynasty Warriors, that game.
I know of Dynasty Warriors. I've never particularly played it, but I know of it. Yeah,
so it's basically, and Mark, you can fill in the gaps for me if you want, but it's basically slash your way through hundreds, if not thousands, of enemies and kind of take territories back from the enemies, and then that's how you clear the level. But it's not just levels. There's like a story behind it and character building and all that kind of stuff as well.
Yeah, absolutely.
I know the concept. It sounds good.
Yeah, it's a fun looking game. But anyway, so Rico, you had told me, in our weekly discussions that you had gone off to GameStop and bought a couple games now recently, and I know one of them you were talk about them all, but I know there's one you were super excited about. Mark, just keep in mind that he is only limited to a PS3. I know you're not going to judge him for that because you've got like everything that ever existed. But
that's fine. He's a filthy casual, whatever.
Oh, stop it!
Well, he's not wrong. I'm a poor gamer. That's really weird.
No, I totally understand that. And for me, in all honesty, I appreciate anybody who's into games, regardless of what you can and cannot afford. So it's the fact that you have interest in games at all is that's great. And I actively encourage you to be a part of gaming and to not let people seriously denigrate you for a lack of modern experience or for not being hardcore in specific ways or whatever. Just, being a part of gaming at all is great. And I really do appreciate that, no matter to what level your ability to play games actually exists.
Well, I appreciate you saying that. And it is, my whole thing was, it is just that I can't afford it. And also, I don't want to fucking sacrifice all my shit to just get a fucking newer game with a newer system with one fucking game. I don't want to trade all my shit in. I kind of want to keep everything. But I've already, with this particular PS3, I've already had to have it restored once. It crashed on me and I couldn't turn it on, and then I had to send it out for $80 and get it basically restored. So it is kind of me replaying all my games for the first time because they wiped my fucking hard drive, which they said they weren't going to do in the first fucking place. So I basically paid $80 to lose all my shit, is really how I'm looking at it.
Sometimes they don't have any real control over that. It's just whatever it is that they're trying to do ends up wiping the drive. That's the one thing that's good about the modern consoles, at least, is that they have the cloud save option where your saves will just be uploaded and they're there. So even if you do whatever, you lose all your stuff on the drive, you can just download them directly from the internet cloud. I don't think the PlayStation 3 has access to that.
It does. No, it does. I used to have stuff on the cloud, but the storage space is incredibly fucking limited compared to the PS4. Yeah.
Okay. So you just have less you just have less storage. That's fair.
But they also, to be fair, Mark, and you know this as well as I do, the storage space required is not nearly as large either.
Yes.
But
the whole thing of me also having a PS3 is no matter what, I will be able to be entertained at a cheaper cost. Even if I had a PS4, it still costs a lot of money if I can get a new game.
Yeah.
So, people always give me shit oh, you still have a VCR and you still have played DVDs. Well, it's I'm always going to be entertained. I will always have a DVD collection. I will always have
a combination DVD VCR player, VCR DVD player, so I can record stuff off of VHSs if I have something I want to keep.
Yeah, of course. But I'm also just a hardcore collector, so I still have all my VHSs. I got 1,000 of them. So, I have 1,000 VHSs and at least almost 300 or so DVDs, if not more. But that's my whole thing is if I can never afford internet, I will always have a movie to watch, even if I've seen it before. But I also buy movies I've never fucking seen, which is why I occasionally will buy PS3 games that oh, you're just now getting into that? Well, I don't care. It's still a game. I can still have fun. So
you don't see that in other media, which I think is very strange. You don't see if somebody comes in and they're like, I just watched the Maltese Falcon, nobody's going to be like, you're just getting into that. You know, nobody's gonna say like, you're just watching Citizen Kane. What the fuck is wrong with you? You know,
there is that, because I have done that where I've had people be like, because my job is at a video store, so people are like, oh, you know what I just saw? I just saw the Terminator. I'm like, you just now saw the fucking Terminator?
Okay,
but, like, I understand.
Then you're part of the problem. Then fuck you.
But I mean, it's different. It's more of just. I mean, I think there's that whole thing where you do with your partners and your friends.
Yeah.
Like when you find out you have like. No disrespect to any of my ex-girlfriends, but like I've had to introduce the movie Goodfellas to them every single time, because it's not a movie that they would go and actively see.
Sure.
You know what I mean? I mean, as Stephanie once fucking dubbed it perfectly, it's a dick flick. So, but there are other movies where it's like, there's that whole, it's like, it's kind of sexist, but like women are like, don't see the movies that guys introduce until they introduce it. Like, what? You haven't seen Star Wars? Like, we have to sit down and watch Star Wars or Raiders of the Lost Ark or something akin to that.
Which, by the way, Rico, just a real quick side note. You mentioned, remember I mentioned to you earlier, my boss is listening to the show now. Mm-hmm. And she said to me, she's like, you have to forgive me for one thing. No, some of your episodes I'm not going to get or I'm not going to understand because I've never seen Star Wars or Back to the Future. See, and I'm like, but that's the thing. And I flat out said to her, because I've got a pretty good working relationship already with her. I said to her, I was like, how are you a Kevin Smith fan and never seen Star Wars or Back to the Future? What the fuck is wrong with you?
Yeah, I mean, there are certain...
And then Carl was fired.
No, actually, she looked at me, laughed her ass off, and went, you're 100% right.
But see, though, that's my thing, is that something like the Maltese Falcon or Casablanca or Citizen Kane is significant for a film standpoint, but not so much as a pop culture standpoint. Right. Star Wars is pop culture incarnate. You know, there are movies about Star Wars that have not, like... all they do is reference Star Wars. I mean, like Kevin Smith. Kevin Smith would have less of a if it wasn't for Star Wars. But anyways, back to the fucking games. Do you guys? I think I remember all of them, but they're over there if I need to grab them. But you're gonna laugh. I got the first Assassin's Creed. I have more or less all the other Assassin's Creed. Never got the first one, and I think it's because someone lent me Assassin's Creed 2, and I played that. That was my first introduction to Assassin's Creed. And then he lent me the first one, and immediately I was like, wow, this is not as good. So it's not as good.
The second one is
for myself.
The second one is substantially a step up from the first one, I think. The first one was good for laying the groundwork, and as a first one, it did a great job. But it is definitely one of those series where if you've played... You know, especially the Ezio collection, which is, you know, and Mark, help me out here if I fuck it up, but it should be 2 Revelations and Brotherhood, I believe.
I think that's correct, yes.
The Ezio collection.
2 Brotherhood and then Revelations.
Well, I wasn't trying to do them in order. I was just trying to name them. But, you know, once you play the Ezio ones and then try to go backwards to Altair, it's hard to do.
Right.
Well, Assassin's Creed 1 was not... great regardless. Like, if you look them up on Metacritic, Assassin's Creed 1, I think, sits with like a 70-something score, and the others are like 80s and 90s. So it did lay the groundwork, but even for its time, reviewers were kind of like, I don't know about this one. And it took Ezio's story for people to be like, you know what? I'm on board with this, not just because Ezio is a more interesting character, but because the folks behind it, like, Assassin's Creed, by all indications, was at least partially the result of franchise runner at the time, Jade Raymond. And you could very much tell that the original Assassin's Creed was just like building a universe, coming up with concepts, and just throwing them in there and seeing what works. And 2 really refined that into what we now know as the Ubisoft game. Right.
Real quick, Mark, just for our listeners and potentially for Rico, because I'm not sure. Rico, are you familiar with the Metacritic score is? Are you familiar with that? Okay. For those who aren't familiar, just in case, because there are maybe some people that listen to our show that don't know what that is, Metacritic score is basically the game equivalent to Rotten Tomatoes. So... it's not a specific site. I don't think there is one. Is there, Mark? Is there a Metacritic site like there is with Rotten Tomatoes?
Metacritic.com, yes.
Okay. Well, there you go. See, even I don't know everything about this stuff. But it's the gaming equivalent of Rotten Tomatoes. So, anyway.
Well, no, it's Metacritic is everything. Metacritic is most commonly referred to in gaming circles, but they also do, they started with movies. There's a Metacritic site for films, there's a Metacritic site for other stuff.
I was not aware of that either, but there you go.
Yeah, it's most commonly referred to in gaming circles because there's other stuff that's more popular in cinematic circles. But
like Rotten Tomatoes.
There's Metacritic for films and stuff.
Okay, fair enough.
Well, so going back to what I was saying before, because my hard drive was wiped like over a year ago, so I'm sort of just going through all my games and replaying them and just kind of getting 100% on each of them. So I have a lot of the Lego games, so I'm trying to do all those.
That's gonna be the rest of the year.
Well, I'm already doing pretty fucking good. I've already got through Star Wars: The Complete Saga, Star Wars: The Clone Wars, Harry Potter's years 1 to 4, and Harry Potter years 5 to 7. Lego Batman 3.
God, how much are you playing? Those games are notoriously very time consuming to 100%. So
I'm burning through. I mean, I know all the Lego games very well, so I can kind of like rush through it. But like, I mean, I haven't been doing this for like recently. I've been doing this off and on for like the past 6 months.
I see.
So right now I'm trying to go through Lego Marvel Avengers because I just did Marvel Superheroes. So I'm treating the Assassin's Creed thing as that as well because I haven't played the other Assassin's Creed games recently for like a while. Like I have 2, I have Revelations, and I have Brotherhood, and I have 3, and I have 4. So I've got a whole decent collection of the Assassin's Creed. Plus now I got the first one. So when I'm done with all the fucking Lego games, I very well may start the Assassin's Creed and just start the very beginning. So no matter what, I'm always upgrading. So I start the original one, and then I'm like, all right, it's all kind of new to me. And then I upgrade each fucking game. So
I was on board
that.
with
I feel like it's probably going to make more sense from a play perspective. Like you'll just be like, oh, okay, I'm doing this now. I'm doing this now. I'm doing this, and it'll evolve more readily for you as you play.
Yeah,
I think my ultimate goal is once I'm done with all the games, then I'll be able to fucking finally afford PS4. I'll save off like $5 every fucking game.
Yeah,
I feel like they're like probably by the end of this year, you'll probably start seeing one that's in the $200 range, like $250, somewhere around about there. So maybe.
I always make that joke when I can finally afford a PS4 is when like a PS7 is coming out.
They're actually there's rumors they're talking about a PS5 and Xbox 720 or whatever Microsoft is going to end up naming the damn thing.
Yeah, they're going to announce that this year, right?
What's that?
They're planning to announce that this year, from what I was reading.
People say that every fucking year. I don't know if it's true, but people have been saying that every fucking year for the past like 3 years now.
Dude,
and nobody's announced shit.
Still don't have a fucking title for Star Wars 9, so I don't even know what the fuck I'm waiting on anymore.
Yeah, I really wouldn't worry about it.
What were you about to say, CJ, when I was sort of talking?
Oh, I don't remember. It's not important.
Well, I still have like 4 movies to talk about. Or 3 or 4. Yeah.
No, I know. We'll get through them. But the Assassin's Creed ones. Oh, I remember what I was going to say. I lost interest in Mark, I'd like your feedback. And Rico, you've seen this to a lesser degree because Steph has it for the Xbox One, correct?
Yeah.
I don't like what they've done with Origins, and I haven't played it, but to a lesser degree Odyssey with the format change.
Origin, here's the thing to keep in mind. I stopped playing Assassin's Creed after 3. Yes, because I just got tired of it. I get tired of repeated franchises quickly. When it's like we're 5 or 6 games deep into something, and it's I've been through that. I need to take a break from it. And some games I come back to, some I don't. But like Monster Hunter, I own the majority of the game. I own all the games in the franchise, but the one that came out on the Switch, I said, you know what? I bought like 15 of these goddamn games. Fuck you. I'm taking a break. I need to fucking play this.
I would vouch for 4. Black Flag is a fucking... I mean, I love Assassin's Creed 3. I would definitely vouch for 4. I thought it was better.
I heard a lot of positive response to 4, and I'll probably check it out at some point. It's just... I'm also just very tired of the Ubisoft game.
Yeah, I can see that. I mean, and I know you aren't a big fan of Watch Dogs for reasons that aren't worth getting into, but I will tell you...
They're not worth getting into, you scumbag piece of shit.
Well, thanks, Mark.
You're sitting here like, oh yeah, Mark has reasons for not liking this game, but they aren't valid. We don't give a fuck about them.
No, I'm not saying they're not valid. I just know it'll be an hour before you're done getting through them.
Listen. My opinions are valid. They have worth. They have meaning. Fuck you.
Absolutely have value and worth. They also have length. That's...
Listen. I have to have something that has length, okay? Let me have this.
I will tell a quick story though. Mark
it's
used
not
to
about
be...
my dick, is it?
No, it's nothing to do with your dick.
Well, if it's quick, it's going to be able to ejaculation.
No.
So it's about... Mark used to have another podcast, and Mark, I don't even know if you would say it was yours or not. I'm not trying to...
No, that was the one Sean Madsen ran and recorded, which was the Die Hard Gamecast.
Right, but you were part of it, so that's why I'm saying it's yours too.
Right, I've been a part of like 6 different podcasts now. One of them was actually mine, and like 4 of them belonged to Robert Hubbs.
Okay. But this one was for the website that, if I understood you the other night correctly, you don't write for anymore, correct?
It's not that I don't write for it. It's that nobody writes for it. Like, the
really?
site still
Okay.
physically exists. You can go there and see the content, but without getting into all of the specifics, like, near as I can tell, life just caught up with all of us.
Sure.
Sean Madsen had 2 kids now, so he's not really in a position to... he had 2 kids with his wife. I want to be clear. Like, this isn't, like, this isn't an Arnold Schwarzenegger situation where it's like, hey, Sean, you're pregnant. What? This is... He and his wife had 2 kids. So he has no real time to be a game reviewer anymore. Matt has been doing a bunch of other stuff. He probably has more time than Sean, but he's not in a position where he's going to do anything like idea-wise on his own. Alex has moved like a couple of different times and has just gotten tired of playing video games for review purposes and writing about them because like his hands are all shot, so writing the reviews takes it out of him functionally. And like I just had anxiety issues, and that was during like the last year that I was still taking care of my mother, so I had no motivation to do anything with that. And it's just one by one we all just stopped, and like nobody's doing it anymore. And I don't think it would be just a matter of one person doing it again to get back into it. Like, it would take a gargantuan effort to get the site active and viable again, and I just don't have that in me. So I just kind of am focusing on taking it one day at a time for me and getting to a point where hopefully I can do all the stuff I want to do with, making YouTube videos, maybe starting my podcast back up again, whatever.
Sure.
But yeah, like the Die Hard Game Fan was a great time. I got a lot. I went to E3 twice because of it. It was a great part of my life. It's a great site. It's still there. But yeah, it's basically dead at this point.
Well, and my point for bringing it up though was that you guys were kind enough to have me on a couple of episodes.
Oh yeah,
and one of them I brought up Assassin's Creed 3 as probably the best game of the year at the time that it was released, and fucking crickets.
Oh yeah. Yeah, no, none of us like that game. None of us like that game.
It was. I went in
Assassin's Creed 3 was a baffling one to me, just because they're re-releasing it like a remake version of it, and I'm just like, why though?
Well,
I liked it.
It's fine, but it's just like, it's not the Assassin's Creed anybody points to and says something about, you know? Assassin's Creed 2 is always going to be the game that debuted Ezio and made Assassin's Creed what it is. Assassin's Creed 1 is the game that started it all. Assassin's Creed 4, a lot of people really love that game because of the ship combat. Assassin's Creed 3, like, that's not a game that anybody is like, this is my favorite of the franchise. It's not a game that has anything going on in it that's like a must-see sort of thing. Just the way that the game is positioned, a lot of the long-term history of it is just sort of a collective shrug.
What I liked about 3 was that I liked it before I found out about 4. It was my favorite. I mean, look, you are right that the Ezio trilogy is sort of, I would argue, probably the most popular, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And then 4, I think, was just a better game in part because I think there's that mythology to the pirates kind of thing. Like, it was because there's the cowboy element for Red Dead Redemption. Yeah, we want a pirate version of this, and the closest you get was Assassin's Creed 4. Like, I would still love a pirate version of Red Dead Redemption. That's not necessarily Black Flag. But
yeah, I think like the boat combat was also like a big focus because a lot of people liked the boat combat in 3, but did not like that it was such an incredibly minor part of the experience.
Yeah.
The boat part was cool. Also, the hunting. I mean, it's fucked up, but like you're hunting whales and sharks and shit. Like, that's something I don't agree with on a personal level, but as a gamer, it's really entertaining to do. But I think that's also one of the reasons why I like the third one is I think the character was just interesting because you're playing a Native American / British character, and I like the Native American aspect to it, especially when you do hunt. There was like a sense of respect for the character. Like when he's like killing animals, you'd actually like give it like a prayer. Like, I don't know, just for some reason that I like that aspect of the character. I would also say that was the first game of the Assassin's Creed that you could hunt, what made it more interesting.
Oh, yeah.
Plus, you could climb on fucking trees and shit. You couldn't do that in the other games.
Yeah, there weren't really any trees around.
That's what I'm saying. It gave it more of a foresty feel to it. It felt like this is what, if there was a Native American assassin, he would be running his trees and fucking buildings. It felt, I don't know, it was the Dances with Wolves of the Assassin's Creed. I don't know how else to fucking explain it. I liked it. But again, I only played it once through. So once I do my whole fucking Assassin's fucking marathon, then I might have a very different opinion.
That's fair.
What was the next game you bought, man?
Well, it's easy to just say. I got Lego The Hobbit because I have basically every other fucking Lego game, but I had bought this before at GameStop, and then when I played it, it fucking was just not even playable. Like, literally couldn't play it. It just didn't start. So I had to return it, and then I said, oh, well, fuck it. I'm not going to buy it. And then I said, oh, okay. GameStop was doing a sale where it was like, if you get 4 of stuff that's under $10, all 4 games will equal up to $20. So you spend $20 on 4 games.
Yeah, that's not bad.
Yeah,
that's not bad at all.
So I was just like, well, it's under $10. Fuck it. I don't have it.
Real quick.
The fact that it's a Lego game that I don't have is pretty easy.
Real quick, Mark, you'll find this kind of humorous, but so that game that Rico just bought, the Hobbit Lego one, Deb and I had that briefly, and then we also had Dishonored 2. And we decided we weren't going to play either of them, so we traded them in towards something else. I forget what it was. And what it is it kind of irrelevant. I think it was Spider-Man, actually. But so when we traded it in, I got more for the used copy of Lego Hobbit than I did for the brand new copy of Dishonored 2.
Well, I don't think they care about the condition of the game or whether it's used or new. All they care about is how many of these do we presently have versus how many of these are people likely to purchase.
True.
And Dishonored 2 is one of those games that was really, really popular and then wasn't anymore,
Right.
So, like, you could probably walk in there and buy Dishonored 2 used now for like $10.
Yeah, I don't know, but probably.
That kind of goes with my whole thing about one of the other games I got, because one of the other games was Max Payne 3, and I had that, when it first came out. Like, I think I bought that fairly new. Like, I was really excited because I was a massive fan of the first two. I even really liked the second one. Like, a lot of people don't talk about Max Payne 2. It's always the original. I really enjoyed Max Payne 2.
Max Payne 2 was good.
There was a good quality where you can do that 360 move where you could, like, immediately aim behind you. Mm-hmm. I thought that was cool. Or I guess it would be a 180. Well, you do a 360 and a 180. But when I got Max Payne 3, it was gonna.
I'm just having Last Action Hero flashbacks.
Right.
What is this thing that you are doing on me? You are doing a 360? No, you idiot! If I did a 360, I'd just turn around in a circle and I'd be right where I am to start with. What? Never mind. Bang.
Yeah, that's Tyrion. That's Tywin Lannister.
Yep.
Charles Dance, and Anthony Quinn. So my true colors are going to show for a second because I think we've all kind of done this at one point. But like for some reason, even though it's new, my Max Payne 3 game, I think got damaged. So I traded it in at GameStop and didn't tell them it was damaged because fuck it, why not? And I got like. I obviously I traded for credit so I can like get a fucking better game. And I think I got like 2 other Lego games. So it's me saying, okay, this is another game that's less than $10. I'll fucking buy it. And
right.
I haven't tried it yet because for all I know, Karma's gonna just kick me in the fucking nads and like say, oh well, here's another fucking corrupted game. Which leads me to, I have 2 more to talk about. I'm saving one in particular for last.
Wait, Rico, real quick, I would just want to point out, Mark, you were right. Dishonored 2 is $10.
Yeah, not a surprise. Not a surprise.
So South Park, the Stick of Destiny, I think is what I call it.
Stick of Truth.
Stick of Truth, thank you. Which my friend Michael played on his computer and I watched him and I sort of played with him. But we were also very hammered, so it is kind of like when I start it will be like my first time.
Fair.
Yeah. So I'm sort of excited to play that, even though I'm sure it's going to be kind of infuriating. But brings me to what I, at the time, was like, oh my god, this fucking game? X-Men Origins Wolverine, the Uncaged Edition. Which is like, I had heard about this game, and I had the X-Men Origins game that was not the Uncaged Edition. I'm like, wow, this is not very good. This is very much a very generic, low-quality video game based on a movie video game. But then I had heard all about this Uncaged fucking shit. I'm like, what fucking version of this? And it's basically it's the only rated M Marvel game. Like, it's insane. As Wolverine, you fucking hack. It is a hack and slash, kind of. And it is one of those, like, timed button pressing ones to like show a special move kind of thing.
Uh-huh.
But like, it's gory. Your character, like, this is the Logan gore equivalent for a video game where you see, like, you're like, holy shit, why wasn't X-Men Origins this fucking good? Like, you get
the Uncaged edition has gotten generally positive reviews from everybody, whereas the other versions not so much.
Right. So but this is what it gets a little weird. I think Karma's kicking my ass. I played Wolverine, the Uncaged one. I was like, holy shit, I want to start this. Fuck Lego for 10 fucking minutes. I want to play this. And it's pretty fucking entertaining. Like, it's really gory. And when your character gets shot the fuck up and damaged, your, like, organs and muscle, like is all showing, and you see yourself healing over time. Like, it's actually kind of interesting to watch. Like, you have like a fucking hole in your chest, and then you just see your heart beating, and you're doing a lot of lunge attacks. And there's a part, like, because I only played like 30 minutes of it, there's a part where like you jump into a fucking helicopter, grab the pilot, and pick him up so the fucking blades cut off his fucking head. Like, it's kind of fucking awesome. But then all of a sudden it fucking crashed and I got a black fucking screen and it said, this game is corrupted. So with CJ's advice, I actually deleted and uninstalled everything. So I'm going to reinstall it, and it could be the disc or it could just, I don't know. Well, I haven't tested it again, which was one of the things that we possibly could have done on the air today.
I don't want to turn this into a help desk session, Mark, but does that sound like something you've heard of before?
What's the problem that it's having?
It says this game is. It stopped playing. The screen went black, and then a white text said this game is corrupted.
Honestly, that sounds just like maybe clean the disk.
I probably just should. I have disk cleaner. I could do that.
That would be my recommendation, honestly, just because it would probably resolve the issue that you're having. I've had that a few times. If you find that the disk is clean, maybe run, get one of those laser lens cleaner type deals and put it into your PS4, PS3, and have it clean the lens. That would be the only other thing I can think of.
You don't think it's something like what they did with like Perfect Dark or Metal Gear Solid 1, I think it was, where like you would play it and you would get to that section and it would make you think that things went awry.
No, it's absolutely not that. It's absolutely not that. Only a couple of games have ever really done that kind of thing, and X-Men Origins Wolverine is definitely not one of them.
Well, being the uncaged or whatever it's called,
it's just because it's more bloody. It's a gory game, which it should be, but that's the only reason why that version is the way that it is.
Right. If I can show my ignorance for a second, is there a very specific way of keeping your system should I not have anything underneath it? Should I have nothing behind it? Should I have a fucking cloth covering it so it prevents dust? I know I could talk to you guys about this because you are the fucking gaming experts that I know. But there was that whole thing about there was an argument about having your PlayStation on its side as opposed to laying down, is better for not overheating. And do I have to fucking spray with that dust off bullshit once a month? Is there a fucking treatment so I don't fucking have to send my goddamn PS3 out again?
Well, at some point? Mark, before you get into it, because I know you'll have a lot more to give him input on, my first thing to tell you, Rico, is always let it breathe. Make sure there's enough room for it to breathe. So don't have it up against a wall or another piece of equipment. Make sure there's at least, I would say, at least an inch between. If you have it next to something like a stereo receiver or a VCR or something, make sure there's at least an inch of space between the two units, especially wherever the vents are. And if I recall, the PlayStation vents are on the back and the left side, if I recall. So.
Well, I have it on something, but overall there is space. But it always kind of feels like it's running a little warmer than it should.
The PS3, at least mine too, tended to run a little hot. So I think that's just the design of the system. But Mark could probably speak to that better.
I just don't want to be oh, it's totally fine. Then I'm fucking my own thing, by accident. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. No, I get you. I feel like from an exterior perspective, from an external perspective, just using cleaning, maybe just a really simple cleaning fluid that you alcohol is good, I think, but you don't really have the ability to use a lot of it because it just evaporates off too quick. So
you're talking about exterior?
The exterior, yeah. I'm trying to think because I would say using general cleaning fluid is fine, but the problem is that you have to be careful to dry it off because you can't just do something with it your table where you spray it and you wipe it and then you let it dry itself because stuff can get inside of the console. Yeah, cleaning it internally is usually done with alcohol because it evaporates on its own. I'm trying to think of a cleaner that I would use externally.
I've never cleaned a system, to be honest with you, Rico. I'm not saying
I've cleaned it internal. I've cleaned my systems internally when they need it. I've never bothered to do anything with. I don't do anything special with keeping the exterior clean. I use a Swiffer duster.
Yeah, that's what I've done. Just keep it dust free. If you have to hit it with that air duster, you can. I don't think that would do any harm to it, but don't concentrate on one space. Do a quick one over, but don't sit on it because it will start building up condensation if you stay in one location long enough.
Right.
Yeah. Usually the air duster is used if you're going to take it apart and clean out the inside.
Right.
Well, there is also the thing that because when I was having my problems with my PS3 before I actually sent it out, I thought maybe it was just not working right because it said there was a whole thing where even trying to turn it on, there was a message saying this system cannot be started because blah, 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 blah. I don't remember what the fucking message was. You can actually search it. You could type it, PS3, this system cannot be restarted. It'll actually finish what the fuck the problem is. And before I would send it out, I discovered there was this way of turning on the fan for the PS3. Like, it is like you have to press the eject button and then have it be unplugged and then plug it in, and you hold down the eject button for like 10 seconds and it would kickstart the fan on. And I noticed that people were recommending that to blow out dust from inside. Now, I would do that, but it didn't fucking ever get rid of any dust. So I don't know. I don't have a point to this. I'm just saying there was a weird way of cleaning out the inside, I guess.
I mean, that works to a certain extent, but there's always going to be like X amount of dust inside of the console. I don't take apart the console unless I need to. It will void the warranty. So if you have an actual warranty on a console, don't do it, obviously. But usually most people don't. Most people don't at this point because like the warranties are like 3 months. So
I've had mine for years, so I don't think I have a fucking warranty.
Right. So it's just look up a tutorial online on how to take the damn thing apart, take it apart, follow the directions, and if you want to clean out the inside of it, some air in a can will blow the dust out of the fans, and some isopropyl alcohol and a Q-tip will clean the laser lens.
As far as general storage, though, Rico, like I said, keep it free and clear. I am not a fan of standing it up, but I don't know that it really does any harm. I like keeping it flat. I think it's better that way, but that's just my personal thing.
I've been standing my consoles up for years now, just because it makes sure that there's space, and I haven't had a problem. So
yeah,
well, I wouldn't put it on its side just for the sheer chance that my cat would probably walk into it and then knock it over. Like I wouldn't want. Like that would just be like, oh, I saved it, and then oh, my cat killed it. Because he was actually known for like walking on it, even though it's laying on down, like level. He would I guess he'd be like, I couldn't tell if he was just like, oh, I like the heat, or hey, you're not paying attention to me, fuck you. It could be. Dino is known for doing that type of shit. He'll just walk in front of the TV, just be like, I know you're trying to watch a movie, but fuck you, I'm here and I'm cute, piece of shit.
He's walked in front of us when we've been recording. I mean, so
yeah, the fact he doesn't is because he's asleep right now. He's just curled up next to stuff.
Yeah. I think you're doing fine. And Rico, I think you just when it died on you before, it just ran its course. That's what it kind of sounds like to me.
Which makes me think I'm on borrowed time again.
Well, I mean, mine went to a point where I had to buy a new one for the simple fact that the cost to repair it was more expensive to get it repaired than it would have been to get a brand new one. And so that's what I ended up doing. The only thing I sacrificed with mine was I had a backwards compatible one, meaning mine went all the way back. I could play PS1 and PS2 titles. The new one I have will play PS1 titles, but it will not play PS2 titles.
Does that fucking piss you guys off a little bit that now they're releasing these PS Classic things? Like, you want to be retro? You could play PlayStation 1 games. You're like, motherfucker, why didn't they just have backwards compatibility for everything? Now everyone's being like, oh, I'm playing retro. I can play a fucking PS1 system. You have to go out.
This would actually, I can try to condense this down. But yes, the short answer to the question is yes, I fucking hate this shit as much as you do. But
yeah. So
the TLDR on it is here. Backwards compatibility has been difficult for the consoles. It was easy from PS1 to PS2. Every console generation afterward, it's been more difficult because the console manufacturers have been changing processor types, going between the x86 model of processor, which is what we commonly use for home computers, and the PowerPC type, which is what Mac used to use for its processors. And they don't play super great together. They don't use the same machine language. So it's always a case of it's not just a straight emulation, more work is involved in that. When it went from PS1 to PS2, it was the same type of processor. But they're the companies have swapped back and forth. I think in the going forward, it's always going to be x86 type processors because the PowerPC processor brand is kind of sort of defunct at this point. So that won't be an excuse anymore. but that's the main reason that we kind of sort of see that shit. That having been said, backwards compatibility has also been seen was something that eventually the manufacturers sort of realized like they didn't want to be bothered with, just because, hey, we can sell you another God of War with slightly better graphics. Hey, we can sell you the games that you used to play for $5 or $10 on the PlayStation or Xbox store for download, just as is. Hey, we can sell you these retro consoles. Now, I don't have a problem with like the Nintendo retro consoles, except for the fact that there really should have just been more games on the goddamn things.
Yeah.
But the Sony PlayStation Classics console
is terrible.
That thing is a colossal fucking piece of shit.
It really is. It's a bad console.
Yes. And I mean, at this point, if you know how to follow directions, or if you're a particularly big nerd, if you know how to program, you can just get yourself a Raspberry Pi and make one for yourself.
Okay, Mark, you've got to elaborate on Raspberry Pi, because you've lost probably...
Raspberry Pi is like this tiny little computer box that you can purchase on Amazon for like $100. And you can just install an operating system to it that does whatever you would want it to do, and just get a Raspberry Pi with an HDMI port on it that, like maybe like a couple of USB ports. Boom. I can plug in a PlayStation controller or like a modern Xbox controller or a modern PlayStation controller, and I can play anything that I can emulate on the Raspberry Pi.
Okay.
It requires a little bit of doing, but it's an entirely viable way of making your own home emulator. I keep thinking about doing something like that, where I, hook it up and I just have all the games that I would want to play right on my TV. But I
think that would be fun, and like if you want to play a Super Nintendo game, I could see the appeal to that. But I think I would also argue there is more of an appeal of having a Super Nintendo controller in your hand with an old school Super Nintendo game.
Right, but they sell Super Nintendo controllers that have USB wires, so you theoretically could still get this Raspberry thing and get that controller for like $8 and plug it into it.
I know, but like I'm saying, it's like, oh, you want to watch this old movie that you saw on VHS? You could just watch it on Blu-ray. Is what I'm trying to compare. Is what I'm saying. There is something about like, because I mean I can only speak for myself as having like a VCR still. When I was a hardcore collector of VHSs, even though I know I could find any fucking movie I want on DVD or Blu-ray or whatever the fuck, there is something about finding that tape at like a yard sale and in good condition, and then going back to like that nostalgia period of being like, I'm going to put this tape in a fucking VCR and sit back and watch a movie I want to watch.
Well, yeah, and there's something about the hunt. I think, Mark, you would agree with that in general. There's something about going out on the hunt sometimes and finding stuff like... So, real quick, Rico, I will tell you, and you actually segued to something to be kind of fun to talk about. Mark, you and I have already talked about this, so I apologize for the repeat conversation, but there was a thing on Twitter that I tagged Mark in where this other person whose name escapes me, I'll try to find it before we're done, put up a question that said, name the best Super Nintendo game that does not feature Mario, Link, or is not an RPG. And we had a nice little conversation about it, and it was fun. And I actually picked a game called Rock and Roll Racing, which was a fun game. And then Mark, I think you had said Sunset Riders, correct?
Yes.
Yeah.
Though I think at this point I'd probably go Super Metroid.
That's fair.
Is Sunset Riders that fucking cowboy game?
Yes.
Fuck, dude, I haven't thought about that goddamn game in years. That shit was legit.
It was.
Oh, yeah.
Oh my god, dude, you are just... Because I had a Super Nintendo when I was a kid, but I fucking sold it at like a flea market or a yard sale my mom was throwing, and some kid made me an offer. All my fucking games and my Super Nintendo was like, God, I think I sold it for like all for $50.
Oh, brutal.
I had so many good games. But I forgot about Sunset Riders. Shit.
the point to bring that up, though, is that in the thread, people were listing all kinds of different games, and some people weren't paying attention to rules, and they were saying things like Zelda Link to the Past, which doesn't qualify because Link's in it. But a couple other people said stuff like SimCity, which was a game I fucking loved. And I drove, before I met you, Rico, so probably like 2 years ago, maybe longer, because it was before I met Deb. We just passed our 3-year anniversary, actually. And we, happy anniversary, Deb. But I drove like 2 hours to get a copy of SimCity on cartridge. I have the cartridge from my Super Nintendo.
If I could join the argument, I'd like to contribute. So it was Super Nintendo only?
Super Nintendo only, and it can't have Mario, Link, or be an RPG. So just, and not that you don't know what an RPG is, but just for examples for the listeners, that would immediately disqualify stuff like Final Fantasy 3/6 or Chrono Trigger.
So I would have chosen something like, one of the more fun ones that I played was there was a Beavis and Butthead Super Nintendo game.
Oh, jeez. I remember that game.
Yeah, where the whole point of it is for them to get Gore tickets to go to a Gore concert. So it's like them running around the neighborhood. There's a Highland Hospital one. There's the school.
Yeah.
I remember that was fun because that was the first game where my dad was like, "I don't want you playing this." My dad was not okay. Nothing anything against Beavis and Butthead. It was just there's some of the enemies that you have to go up against are dogs, so it shows you punching a dog in the face or something, and my dad's like, "I don't like this, Rico."
You were probably also 6 at the time, I would think, right?
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah.
I was young. It wasn't about it wasn't Beavis and Butthead. He let me watch that because I had older brothers who were watching that. It was more about condoning a video game that was abusive towards animals.
Sure. Sure.
So he would not like Assassin's Creed, 3 and 4. But another one was the Lost Vikings.
Yeah, that was one we were discussing during the board game night on Saturday. That game was the shit.
I never finished it. I never fucking beat it. But also, I was never a hardcore gamer at 7. So,
and an interesting thing that you would appreciate, Rico. So, Rock and Roll Racing was similar to a game that came out for the Nintendo, the original NES system called RC Pro-Am. If you've ever played that game, I'm not sure. And it's a racing game on a short track, and you do 4 to 6 laps, and whoever crosses the line first wins. And Mark, did we ever figure out, was Lost Vikings and Rock and Roll Racing the same company? We did establish that, or no?
I can find out.
Okay. I think it is, because one of the hidden characters in Rock and Roll Racing was Olaf from the Lost Vikings. And
really?
it was a special character. The car was super souped up. Yeah,
it was originally under their original developer name as Silicon Synapse, which is what they were known as during the early 90s, but we would more commonly know them as Blizzard.
I thought it was Interplay for some reason. Anyway,
Interplay was involved in it, but no. They developed RPM Racing for the SNES, the Lost Vikings, Rock and Roll Racing, Death and Return of Superman, Blackthorn, and then they went and Justice League Task Force, and then they basically went to PC and just kind of never looked back.
Yeah, Blackthorn was a good fucking game too, but that's another conversation. But to tie it back to what you were saying, Rico, Olaf from the Lost Vikings was a hidden character. And this is back when hidden characters weren't you just buy the DLC or you go here. You had to do and it's not this code because I know what this one is, but it'd be the Konami code, up, down, down, left, right, that whole thing. But it was something similar to that where you had to hold L on R, select, and then hit reset or some bullshit. And he would show up,
There was also, the closest thing to Super Mario, I guess, for this category would probably be Donkey Kong.
Donkey Kong Country. Yeah.
Super Donkey Kong, or Donkey Kong Country, was just as fun as the Super Mario games, but if not almost funner. The graphics look cleaner. The graphics look more 3D and brighter and more vibrant.
Well, and that's because of Rare, right, Mark? If you would you agree that was because of Rare's involvement?
In which game?
Donkey Kong Country.
And
the tech involved in it, yeah. I don't think that Rare, like, I don't think it's like, like other people couldn't have done that. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Like, I don't want to say that, Rare is the only one who could have done that.
Oh, no.
But it's definitely, like, that was the vision they had for it.
But it was their engine, wasn't it?
I don't know if it was their engine necessarily or not. I know they utilized it for all the Donkey Kong Country games, but I don't.
Right. Well, and
I don't
Star
know if it was
Fox,
like an in-house thing or what. So probably I have never really, back in the day, like, you just kind of developed everything by hand, but there were other games that were technologically doing what Donkey Kong Country did, just not as well.
Okay. Yeah. There is another thing I wanted to kind of bring up, but Rico, if you had another point about the SNES, I keep going, but there's something.
No, I was just trying to think of any other fucking games that I played at that point. I mean, I did play SimCity. I don't think I understood it. I think I was just too young to really kind of get a feel for it, because all I remember was like Godzilla, or it looked like Bowser.
It was Bowser.
It was Bowser?
Yeah.
Bowser just kept fucking up my city, and I didn't understand how to get rid of him and what to do.
You could, and like you said, you were kind of young to understand, but you could actually go in and lower the level of the disasters that would come across here. It was in the settings. You could lower or raise it, and you could raise it to a point where, like, you would get hit with like a tornado, Bowser, an earthquake, and like a wildfire simultaneously. Like, that's the level of intensity you could take it up to, or you could take it as low as, like just having a tsunami, depending if you had waterfront property, because different maps had different levels of water.
Yeah, I couldn't understand it. I mean, I played a lot of Super Mario Kart. I played a lot of Super Mario World, Donkey Kong Country, and the second one, I guess, was Diddy Kong or whatever the fuck.
Yeah, and there was a third one, actually, with a female, and I forget her name right now. But
well, the first game was Donkey Kong and Diddy Kong. The second one was Diddy Kong and Trixie Kong, I want to say.
No, Trixie didn't. Oh, yeah, you're right. She was in the second one. Yeah.
Yes, and then in the third one, it was her and, like, I don't know, like a baby Kong, I think.
Yeah.
So, like, they traded out, like, the protagonist from the game to, like, somebody else in the next game, and, like, for all three of them.
Shitty Kong.
Yeah, Shitty Kong, basically.
Yeah, there could be arguments to be made that the Super Nintendo was maybe one of the best consoles put out there. I mean, not necessarily graphically compared to what we're seeing today, but from a quality perspective. And every console has shitty games. Let's not, let's be realistic. But I think the level of good quality outweighed the level of shitty quality. Mark, would you agree?
In which things in general are we talking about here? Just general, or? Yeah,
I think in general, because I know you could deep dive that, and I'm sure I could hold that conversation with you. But yeah, from more of a I think you were more likely, if you were to buy a game you not heard of that was not a Nintendo property, you still had a chance of getting a semi-decent game. That doesn't mean they were all great, but you had a better chance of getting something like a Sunset Riders, or, doing away with the rules of the Twitter feed, a Chrono Trigger, or a Final Fantasy 3, or, whatever.
So here's the thing. I mean, you're kind of, are we talking about just the SNES, or any?
Yeah, I'm talking just SNES. I guess you could, I guess the point you're getting to is
I guess here's my thing.
With Genesis.
Have you ever heard of Sturgeon's Law?
I think I've heard the name, but I'm not familiar with it.
The TLDR is the Sturgeon's Law is an adage that's commonly cited as 90% of everything is shit.
Okay.
So, with that in mind, I would say I can derive a certain degree of enjoyment from a fair amount of the SNES library, but I would definitely agree that all video game libraries fall into the category of 90%, like 80 to 90% of everything is shit. So if you just walked into a video game store, there's a pretty good chance that if you didn't know anything and you just grabbed a game off the shelf, that you were probably walking out with nothing. Like with
kind of like what I did. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that's sort of my argument. Was like, well, it may be shit, but I don't care. It was a deal. I paid money for a shitty deal. That's okay.
Oh yeah. And I mean, like, I feel that there is a certain amount of joy to be had in terrible games in the same way that there is with terrible movies.
Of course.
You know, like if I walk out with like Dr. Butcher Medical Deviant, I can still enjoy that even if it's an objectively terrible fucking movie. And in the same way, I can walk out with, you know, a copy of Agony for the PlayStation 4. It's a piece of shit, but I can enjoy it because it's a piece of shit.
Right.
I think that's one of my guilty pleasures was like video games that were based on movies. Like Iron Man 3 is not a very good game, especially for like a Marvel standpoint or even like a movie game standpoint.
It's not a very good movie.
It's not a very well. That's what I'm saying. There was like a video game adaptation of it, or it was like Iron Man 2. It was just Iron Man. What am I saying? It was just Iron Man.
Okay.
But like the same thing was like they made a game of the Incredible Hulk, and it was just one of those very generic. It's a tie-in movie video game.
The which one are we talking about? Ultimate Destruction or?
Well, that was I think they re-released it as Ultimate Destruction.
No, if you're talking about the first the first Sega game, I think that was the Hulk, the Incredible Hulk. No,
it was a PS. Not the. There was a video game adaptation of the Eric Banana fucking Hulk.
Eric Banana. Yeah.
That's what I call him.
He was terrible. He was terrible.
I've never been able to not call him Eric Bana anymore. Like I rewatched Funny People because I showed it to Stephanie.
Yeah.
I'm like,
Eric Banana Hammock.
Eric Banana Hammock shows up.
Like, don't make him angry. He'll probably cry if he gets angry.
The ultimate irony is he's actually really fucking good at that movie. But there was the video game adaptation of the Edward Norton Incredible Hulk movie, like where Tim Roth is in it. Like, and it's one of those games where it has a ton of skins where like you can run around New York City as the Abomination and different versions of the Hulk. Like I think Red Hulk was featured. So those were my guilty.
I play that.
Those are my guilty pleasures, and then I kind of just like, oh wow, these are all awful.
Yeah. But I will say the Ultimate Destruction game was really good. But yes, the Incredible Hulk game by Sega was basically sort of a pastiche of that game, and was not as good.
I feel like the way you make a good Incredible Hulk game is you basically make Rampage with the Hulk.
Yeah, Ultimate Destruction was a fucking awesome game. Even the Sega game was fine. It just wasn't like great or anything.
All those games, the Iron Man one, I think they made a Thor one, and they made an Incredible Hulk one. All those games where you could just, when you're playing that, you're like, wow, they are not even close to Spider-Man good quality. Like Spider-Man 2, the video game on fucking PS2.
Yes, that game was so good.
That is so goddamn good, and it still holds up. Like I remember like watching it played. Like I'm like, wow, man, this brings back a lot of memories. I wish I could play this.
Mark, I would argue that the new one actually overshadows that one, though.
Well, yes. But, I mean, we're talking, like, over a decade of difference. I would fucking hope that a game... Like, that's the thing that's really frustrating to me is... Like, your statement is correct, and, like, I'm not dunking on your statement in any way, shape, or form.
Yes,
How frustrating is it that it took us that fucking long to get to that point?
No, I agree.
My point about
that's the part that's frustrating to me, is that you should be able to say that about every fucking Spider-Man game that came out after Spider-Man 2.
You can.
You know?
That's the point of how good Spider-Man 2 is. I mean, they've made, like Spider-Man 3, which was another movie tie-in fucking game, was okay. It was not phenomenal. Like, I remember being like, wow, Spider-Man 2 was better. And then there was Ultimate Spider-Man that was actually really fucking fun.
Spider-Man 3 was, I hated that goddamn game.
But that's why. But it was still entertaining. It was just like, it's okay. It's not Spider-Man 2, but there was another one called Ultimate Spider-Man where it was like a 3D comic book. It was very comic booky looking, and you could play as both Venom and Spider-Man. And that was a really unique way of doing it. It was like you are Hulk leaping off of buildings as the giant Venom, and like sucking people in your bodies and like eating them and like throwing them up basically and rejecting them. And then like there was the Amazing Spider-Man, which I do have on PS3, and it was really funny. CJ fucking got the new Spider-Man game on PS4. I don't have a PS4. So when he bought that, I went and got the Amazing Spider-Man on PS3 because I'm like, well, I've never played it. I'll fucking buy it. And it was like $10 or something. So he and I are both playing very different versions of Spider-Man.
And he's like, I'm really enjoying this game. And you're like, I am not.
Well, I was like, I'm okay. I'm pissed off and jealous. But like I said, I have very low standards because I'm not a hardcore gamer where I'm just like, oh man, the graphics are fucking. I mean, I could still do that and be like, well, the graphics kind of suck. But
although
I also will play a fucking ton of Lego and still be happy.
We did get to a point, Mark, where and I'm sure you're aware that PlayStation has remote play for laptops, and actually now for phones and tablets, they just upgraded the app to do that. But we sat here one day before we recorded, and Rico watched me play Spider-Man for like 40 minutes.
And then I went and played Amazing Spider-Man and cried.
Yeah, basically.
Well, I cried because I'm like, fuck, I really want to play Spider-Man 2 again. Because that just, good God. But I remember playing the fucking 96 Activision Spider-Man game on PS1.
Yep.
Yeah. That game was fun at the time, but it does not hold up well.
At the time, that was fucking amazing. And I never played the fucking sequel to it. I only played the first one. I remember incredibly frustrated that you couldn't go down the ground. Like, you just, like, the concept of being on top tall buildings and then going down, which is like, nope. Even if you crawled, like, on the side of the building and went down towards the ground, you would just fall off and die. It was so...
It was very weird.
And that final level against the Carnage Dr. Octopus was so goddamn difficult to fucking do. Like, you had to play that shit for hours before you finally finished that final level. For me.
It took me a few tries, definitely. It was not my finest moment.
And that's the screaming of the Carnage Ock was so goddamn annoying. It was one of the first time I fucking lowered the volume or turned off the volume playing a video game, because it wasn't like I didn't have to have my mom say turn that shit down. It was always being like, fuck this noise, this is awful. But I kept having the audio in the background just in case there was a clue of how to get through this fucking level, because you're running towards the screen and then you're going up and then you're going backwards and you're like, fucking God, dude, for such a fucking labyrinth, where the hell is David Bowie?
Yeah. Goblin King, wherever you may be, get this fucking bullshit far the fuck away from me.
Yeah, Green Goblin King. Come on, motherfucker.
That's funny. I actually want to move on to another video game point. So I know if we would need to circle back, we certainly can. But there was an announcement today that, Mark, you're going to find kind of interesting. I think, Rico, I think you will too. But I'm really curious to get Mark's reaction on it. First off, I want to ask you, Rico, real quick, who's your cable provider out there? Who's your cable company?
Say that again?
Who's your cable company out there?
Who provides your cable?
I think it's AT&T.
Okay. And I know they offer cable, but there's a reason I was asking. The reason I'm asking is because there's a company that's based out of Philadelphia, but they are a nationwide company called Comcast, and they generally go more by Xfinity now, but Comcast is the name of... Okay. I didn't know if you were familiar with them.
I've had Comcast before.
Okay.
At my dad's... I think I actually told Maxwell here that we really should consider getting Comcast because I know it's usually better internet.
Yeah, the internet is definitely better. The cable is another conversation. But anyway, that aside, they announced today, because again, they're based out of Philadelphia here, they are building a 3,500-seat esports arena in Philadelphia.
Why?
Well, esports is a pretty big thing at this point. I mean, Fortnite, Arena. Mark, help me out here if I'm missing a few, but you know where I'm going with this.
Oh, yeah. Well, the thing is that esports encompasses many different franchises and genres. So, you've got the entirety of the fighting game community. So you've got, Street Fighter and all of the various iterations of that. You have Mortal Kombat. You have Tekken. You have... Dead or Alive, you have Under Night In-Birth, you have Soul Calibur, blah, blah, blah. The point is, there's just the entirety of the fighting game community can do stuff with that. Then you're talking about the I don't remember what's the term, the MOBA genre, which is massively online battle arena, where it's League of Legends or Dota, Dawn of the Ancients, or the game that Blizzard has made, Heroes of the Storm, where those games are a big competition battleground right now. Then you have all of the first-person shooters that offer that sort of stuff, like Counter-Strike Go and the Quake Arena games and so on and so forth, that still have tournaments going on. And then more recently, there's the Battle Royale games, which is PUBG, Fortnite, Spellbreaker, or Spellbound, whatever the hell the name of that game is coming out, Apex Legends, et cetera, so on. And it's esports is becoming a bigger and bigger thing than like we've had fighting game, like the fighting game tournament Evo has been on ESPN the past couple of years, for example. So it's becoming a bigger and bigger thing. I don't see the inherent value in making an arena entirely dedicated to esports, when I would imagine most esports could be run out of traditional arenas. But
the story I read about it is that there are esports arenas in foreign countries. This will be the first one in the United States. And just getting back to the games real quick, the other thing they're going to be able to run through this, and Mark, I know this doesn't necessarily appeal to you as so much, but you'll be able to do stuff like Madden and NHL and NBA 2K and possibly even like, some of the WWE games, like WWE 2K, whatever it will be at that point. You know what I mean? So they can run these things through, and they are investing a shit ton of money in this. They're spending $50 million to build this arena.
I mean, a Madden tournament would be fine. They've done plenty of Madden tournaments over the years. I don't know that there would be too many WWE video game tournaments, just because I think that ship has sailed in terms of the popularity of the games, which is due in no small part to the fact that the WWE has made their brand popular, but their actual product not so much. But that's a conversation for another day. But yeah, like Madden tournaments are definitely a thing. There have been Madden tournaments all over the place, so that's entirely feasible. It's just, to me, I just don't know why you wouldn't just use a regular arena, because like the thing is, sure, other countries have built arenas for esports tournaments, because they don't have arena sports. South Korea does not have lots of arena sports.
True.
Like they don't have basketball, they don't have football, they don't have hockey, they don't have all that shit. We have lots of fucking arenas all over the goddamn place.
Well, and
there's an arena near me. There's like within an hour, within a 2-hour drive, there's like 6 arenas that I can go to. There is an arena literally 20 minutes from my house. I feel like the idea is interesting, but it just feels to me like there's like there's an idea there that's neat, but it's not necessary in the U.S. marketplace, and it seems like a hype thing more than actually making valuable use of the time and the concept. And I would not be surprised if that esports arena ends up changing hands like 12 times in a decade period, because nobody can really do anything with it. It couldn't be done with just a traditional fucking arena.
Well, here's the interesting thing about it, and we'll get ready to start wrapping up for the night, but one of the things that is the thing that's proposed about it is they're putting it right down in the heart of the sport, what I would essentially call the sports district in Philadelphia. So it's going smack dab in the middle of where the baseball, football, and hockey/basketball stadiums are in South Philadelphia. So I'm wondering if it's a way to try to help legitimize esports as a thing.
I don't think that that's their intention. Like, I could see companies that are esports focused doing that and being involved in that because they want to legitimize their own existence.
Right.
I don't think Comcast gives a fuck on that level. Like, they're just looking at it as another stream of income. I don't think they care about legitimizing it so much as this is just like, in general, them kind of sort of like getting involved in it I don't want to call it grift necessarily, because that feels uncharitable to a multi-billion-dollar organization, but it definitely feels like something that they are doing because it makes them look better, not because it has anything to do with, trying to improve the posture of esports. And I don't necessarily see, I don't see the value in it. I think there's much more that you could do to actually improve the posture and the position of esports that doesn't involve building an $80 gajillion fucking arena when we already have like 50 fucking arenas. Like I am one of those people that's definitely like, the football team already has a fucking arena. They can pay for their own goddamn arena out of their own pocket instead of making the taxpayers pay for it. So to me, the idea of building another arena is like, so...
Well, and that's the thing, though, is I don't think they're asking for the public to pay for it, because I get your point, Mark, and you're absolutely right about that.
It's just like, to me, I feel like fucking use the Sovereign Bank Arena for esports and build a homeless shelter.
Well, yes. I mean, I can't argue with that logic. But so just to give you a little bit of quick background on what they're planning to do with this, because apparently there's a team out of Philadelphia, an esports team called the Fusion, so that's why they're calling it the Fusion Arena right now. Now they are looking for someone to buy the naming rights, so I guess Xfinity's not planning to hold on to that, which is strange, but that's beside the point. But they are also going to use it for, and this is the thing you'll find interesting, Mark, I think, they're going to use it for TED Talks and K-pop concerts.
Okay. I didn't realize that the Philadelphia Fusion was involved in this, so it's going to be a fucking Overwatch esports arena on top of everything else. Jesus Christ. All right, fine, whatever.
Okay.
Overwatch is fine. I don't see that lasting any more than a couple more years as an esports thing. Like, it's another case of you're not going to make fetch a thing, Gretchen. But it's a 3,500 seat arena. I went and I Googled it, which is like...
Yeah, I'm looking at it.
It's a small arena. It's fine, but it's just like I feel like there are probably small arenas around that you could use, but okay, at least it's not going to be a big one necessarily.
Well, yeah,
so I can kind of sort of nod and go with that, I guess. The TED Talks, I don't fucking care about that because like TED Talks have value. I'm never will I ever attend a TED Talk live. Never will I ever do that to myself. I would sooner throw myself down a flight of stairs and land fucking dick first on a sharp bicycle than fucking spend an hour sitting there listening to some asshole who thinks he's smarter than me bloviate on cheese.
Okay.
On that note,
yeah.
that's the end of this episode.
No.
PodAskew. My name is.
That's.
But I mean, it's fuck TED Talks. Like I appreciate the value of them. Just put them on the internet and let me watch them there. I don't.
Yeah.
Don't. I'm not gonna fucking ever go to that shit, and I can't imagine. I would never want to be friends with a person who thinks that there is value in sitting and watching TED Talks, because I feel like that is the sort of person who like their diet consists of mayo on white bread because anything else is too spicy for their palate, if you get what I'm saying.
Well, Mark, it's been nice
the K-pop concerts. The K-pop concerts, fucking hell yeah! I'll go and watch an FX concert. I don't give a fuck. I will absolutely do that.
Well, Mark, it's been nice being friends. I valued the friendship we had until 30 seconds ago because.
You would go sit and watch a TED Talk?
Depending on the topic, I think I would. Yeah.
Depending on the topic, sure, but like I don't see the benefit in that like being a thing that you would go to routinely. I don't think we need an arena for that. You know what I'm saying?
I don't think it's going to be the routine purpose of it. I think the routine purpose is going to be, like we said, the gaming things. But anyway,
sure. Go to the community college and do it like a normal person.
Fair enough. All right, man. Well, listen, I think we've covered all the gaming we're going to get through. I mean, I know, Mark, you could go on for hours, and I appreciate that for what that's worth, and I could probably do it with you, but it is late on the East Coast, and you and I both have to get up for work tomorrow. So,
yeah, I mean, but I work from home, so I've defeated the patriarchy.
Yeah, well, lucky you. I don't get to do that.
That's why I went. That's why I went to college.
Yeah,
I gotta start
you.
cooking dinner. So.
Yeah, Enrico needs to eat. I know he's hungry. So, listen, Mark, I appreciate you coming on. We really wanted to give you the opportunity to kind of, come on and not be, digested by the Oscars, like we said.
I appreciate it.
We'll hope to have you back for our birthday party next month, or 2 months from now, technically, I guess, because we're still technically in March. But
yeah, whenever you guys want to have me back, so long as I don't have something else going on, I would absolutely do that.
All right, Mark, thanks for coming on. We really appreciate your time and for a quick peek behind the curtain. It was a clusterfuck trying to make this work on all our parts, so mainly mine and Rico's. So thank you for being understanding about that.
I went and I looked up video game puns, and somebody said, when you walk in a room and you forgot why you went in there? God's playing The Sims, and he just canceled your action.
I love it. That's awesome. All right, good night, everybody.
Good night.
Hiya, everyone. Stephanie here with a few thank yous and FYIs on how you can get in touch with and follow PodAskew. Oh, yeah, and the guys. Let's start with a huge shout-out thanks to Dubbed in English for the opening theme music, 96 Reasons. If you're trying to find them online, they've dropped off the face of the earth. Just kidding. But no, really, their music is offline now, so send an email request to podaskew@gmail.com or CJ's Twitter handle @im_blade, and he'll throw you a copy of the full song and or the whole EP, Plan 9. Also, let's give a big thanks to Samuel Lemons for our closing music theme, Askew. I encourage you to discover more of Samuel's masterfully manipulated rhythms on SoundCloud at www.soundcloud.com/Samuel-Lemons. I don't know how you're listening to this now, but you can find other PodAskew episodes in several places, starting with iTunes and Stitcher, where a quick high-star rating from you goes a long way in helping us hit the top of the charts. Or you may prefer Google Play Music. Don't want to be strapped down by an app? Then find us on podcast search engine Listen Notes. Type in PODASKEW, yes, that's all one word, into any of the aforementioned searches, and PodAskew will pop right up on whatever screen you're using. And of course, there's our founding site that started it all, Podcast Garden, at www.podcastgarden.com/podcast/PodAskew. By the by, if you're looking to host your own show, Podcast Garden is the ideal place for all your podcast hosting needs at a very affordable price. Now, if you want to agree with or yell at the guys directly, follow them and the show on Twitter. For the show, @PodAskew. For Rico, @RantsRico. And again, CJ is @im_blade. Finally, let's not forget our biggest thank you is to you for listening, subscribing, rating on iTunes and Stitcher, and promoting our show by being our fans. CJ and Rico truly appreciate your time and look forward to bringing you another episode soon.